The Saviour has gone. The skull throne stands empty. Who will rise up and unite the people and slay the demons? Hello and welcome to the Friday Fantasy Show from the Bottled Imp, exploring the realms of fantasy. My name is Ken Boyter, and today we are taking a look at The Skull Throne. Now this is book 4 of 5 of the Demon Cycle by Peter V. Brett, and we have reviewed books 1 to 3. We did those in one episode, so check that out on our YouTube channel. Now this, obviously, being book 4, continues the war between humans and also demons. It's an ancient war that's been raging for many, many a year. Let's find out who's winning. The Skull Throne, as I say, it's book 4. The previous books were The Painted Man, or if you're in America, The Warded Man. There was also The Desert Spear, that was book 2, and book 3 was The Daylight War. And what happened in those books, obviously you can check out our review to find out in greater detail, but the concept of the whole the Demon sequel, the Demon Cycle, there we go, is that, as you can probably guess, there are demons, or as they're commonly known within the book, corelings. And these demons rise up from the ground at night. They come out and they attack humans, they prey, they feed off human flesh. And they have this immense power, this magic that runs through them. Now the humans, they have technology to help them. They have these wards, these little images. They're like, I guess, like little symbols. And they have that knowledge. They're magical symbols that can protect people and buildings from being attacked, because the demons, it's like a force field. They repel the demons. But what they can't do is actually kill the demons. So there's just this ongoing onslaught of night after night after night. The demons keep attacking. And the humans, they can't really do much about it. Until a boy named Arlen, he finds an ancient culture, deep sort of underground it is. And he discovers that there used to be, I don't know the precise name, but attacking wards where they can actually kill demons. So he starts experimenting with these wards. He learns the art of warding, and he decides to put them on his body, hence why he's then known as the Painted Man or the Warded Man. And so he has now the ability to kill demons, which is totally unheard of. And of course he wants to help humankind, he wants to help his fellow villagers, and so he shares his knowledge. He's very giving, he's not selfish. And so therefore other humans can start killing, and they ward spears and they ward swords. So then now you can actually go out and kill demons, and therefore they start to believe that they can actually win the battle and wipe out these demons forever. Now the magic comes up through the wards and into that human. So the humans start to become magic as such. They start to have superhuman strength, but at a cost. Because humans aren't designed for magic in this world, what does that happen to their health? What affects their health? Does it eventually start to deteriorate the body? Now, because it's all new, nobody really knows, but they know that they need to keep doing this, and if they're going to win and beat the demons. Now, over the series of books, it does seem to focus on 3 main areas. You've got the corelings, or the demons that are down below, and you've also got it's a culture that's more akin to a Western European culture or English culture in medieval times. So you've got, little small villages that have, like Lord of the Rings, that kind of like the Shire type feel to it. And then you have the more Arabian feel to the culture. They're very different in terms of their personalities and what they believe is right. They're very religious, they're very warlike in nature. And they've actually discovered that they're the culture that already have these attacking wards. And they've been starting to attack. And there's this prophecy that runs through all of this as well, that the Saviour will return. Now, just who is the saviour? Well, there's some debate about that. Is it one person from this Arabian type culture, or is it somebody, well, Arlen, the warded man, the painted man, is he the saviour? Now, it's interesting psychology because Arlen doesn't want to be the saviour. He's just saying, well, I'm nothing special. I've just discovered this and we're going out killing and we're trying to help mankind and humankind and womankind. But then there's the Jardir, I think his name is. Sorry, my pronunciation isn't going to be brilliant. He is the king of the Quraysh culture, this Arabian culture, and he is very prideful. So that's one of the themes that runs through the book. He's very prideful. He wants to be known as the saviour. He's the rightful saviour. It's prophesied. And so pride is a major theme, and also dominance, because when Arlen and him clash, they meet, he's jealous. He doesn't want somebody around that's just as powerful as he is. So you have that going on. So in this book, there are, again, the three areas of distinct parts, really. They don't cross over too much. So it's normally, so at the beginning of the book, it's actually Arlen and Jadar fighting because they want dominance, and they sort of disappear from much of the novel. They're there at the start, and then it switches to all the internal politics of the Quraysh culture, because Jardi is the king, is the emperor, but because he's gone missing, he's fighting Arlen. Therefore, there's the skull throne is sitting empty. Now, he has many sons, and they are ambitious. They want the power, they want control, they want dominance. So there's all the internal conflicts that happen there. They're vying for power. So you have that theme running it through there as well, and that's a big proportion of the book. You also have the politics between the different nations. So as I say, there's the Western, more like Western culture, and the more Arabian culture. So you have the politics between those two cultures. Do they trust one another? Yes, there is a common enemy, obviously the corelings, the demons. But then it's like, well, we can team up together to fight that, but then during the day, there's still, conflict and tension. Now, each side, they do try to broker peace, so you have personal envoys that go along to sort of broker peace, but then you've got the intrigue and the politics that happen in governments and in kingdoms. And so you might have somebody who's actually not working for the greater good. And that's another theme, working for the greater good, sacrifice. How much are you prepared to sacrifice yourself for the greater good? Or how selfish are you? Are you using the situation to actually benefit yourself? So some people say that war is, it's brilliant for business. Well, that might be the case, but that's really dark, isn't it? If you're an arms dealer, I guess, war is great because people will be buying your stuff, your weapons. But ultimately, what are your weapons for? They're for killing. Now, you can see where, with the demons, there's no... they don't want peace. They are out and out. They feed on humans. As far as they're concerned, they just see humans as prey. Now, in this book, the tag end of the last book, you had these demon princes. So Brett has introduced from their point of view, because the first two books you didn't really get to see their thoughts and what they were thinking. So now you get to see these demon princes who mind control other demons, other lesser demons. And they are just out and out wanting to crush the humans. So the humans don't need to try and broker peace, because there's just not going to be a peace. It's just not an option for them. And you also have Licia Paper, she is like the herbalist. She's the healer of the Western village. She rises through the ranks. Her knowledge of healing becomes immense, and she finds herself in a leadership role. And so she is the one that really needs to go and be an ambassador for the Western culture to the Arabian type culture. And she has to self-sacrifice, because she soon realizes that, only marriage is going to sort this cold war, if you like, this tension between the two cultures out. And she doesn't really want to get married, but she is self-sacrificing. She understands that in order for them to beat the demons and win, that these two cultures need to come together. They're not strong enough individually, but together they probably will win. So she's seeing the greater vision for the survival of humankind. So you have those themes that run through it, and then obviously there's the massive theme of war, because you've got fighting, internal politics, internal fighting, you've got fighting between nations, that still does happen, and then you've got obviously the fighting and the war between the demons. Now the demons are planning on this big war that's happening. They're trying to get their demon numbers up, and these princes are trying to, create strategies on how to actually defeat the humans and discover a way of defeating these wards, these protective spells. And there is going to be a fifth book, that's the final book, and that's the core, and that's what's going to happen in the fifth book. Everything's leading up to this big battle in the fifth book. So you have war as a central theme. Now, with what I do love these books. They are what does it for me is the concept of the demons rising up each night and fighting. It's a very simple concept, but then you think, well, day to day, how would you deal with that? How would you survive? Life would be very different, wouldn't it, if you could only really go out during the day and you were safe at night? You'd have a totally different lifestyle, and it would be one of those things where, would you step up and fight the demons once there's an actual opportunity to do that? You've got the wards, you've got the spells, and you've got the magic. Would you step up? Would you sacrifice yourself for the greater good? So I love that idea. It's a very simple idea. And I also like the two different nations and the way they are bringing their own cultures, but they still want to identify it as their own culture. They don't want to really merge in with the other culture. And I think that's a very natural thing. Humans are very, sometimes we don't like change, do we? We like our own culture. But at the same time, we like variety. I love different nations and races and different cultures and folklore and all their stories and all their, creations. So you've got all of that going on, the tension. And so for me, the characterization is crucial in order to make this work. And Peter V. Brett does an excellent job with the characterization. You fall in love with these characters. You really care for them. Even the ones that you think, yeah, come on, mate, you should be able, for the greater good, really, you're being selfish. They're still well written enough and well rounded enough and three-dimensional to go, well, I can understand why you're doing that. You will get people that are more opportunistic than others. So it's really believable the way that he's created these characters, and the motives, they don't seem out of place. There's not one bit where you think, well, that character wouldn't have done that, that's a bit unreal. And he goes into great, great depth about these characters and about their learning and about their ambitions and their visions and their dreams and their hopes. And I think that's really important when you're creating characters, to create a three-dimensional world for them. We don't all live in vacuums. We have opinions about things. We have opinions about other people and about where you see your life and your ambitions. And the other good thing is that there's loads of inner conflict, and good characterization, I think, is mostly to do with inner conflict. People are put into difficult situations, sometimes impossible situations, where they have to make decisions that they ordinarily wouldn't have to make, and therefore they're conflicted. They have to make decisions, or not, as the case may be. And again, that's a valid option, where people just freeze and they don't know what to do, and things get worse and they fester if they don't make a decision. So every character has drive, has motivation, and has inner conflict. And they develop and grow. They change. Sometimes they change their opinions. They change their stance on things. And again, people do that. They do change their opinion if the situation is deemed, suitable enough for them, or impossible enough that they have to change their opinions about things. So it's very, very realistic in that way. And because the realism and the way that the quality of writing has set everything up, it's a very, very believable world that he's created. What happens next then is, obviously, when you introduce the demons, it's totally believable because of everything else being ultra believable. it feels like you are reading maybe an alternate history. All of this happened, centuries ago. I can totally buy into that. If this was taught to me as history as a kid at school, I would have believed this. I would say, yeah, of course there's demons. They're not around now because, maybe the humans won. But I could totally buy into the fact that this could be real. And so when you get the magic and you get the superhuman, when the humans take on the magic and the superhuman qualities, you think, well, actually, that's not too far from taking steroids or taking a drug, is it? We know enough about technology now and DNA to alter humans, genetically. So it is plausible, and that's what I love about fantasy. And it's very high in fantasy, this one, because you've got the magic and you've got the demons and you've got the spells and the warded, the warded spells. I love that concept. It's a very simple concept. I love that. My only criticism, I do have two criticisms of this. One is the book is long. Now, I don't mind long books. In fact, I really enjoy them because, you can really go into depth with the characters and the stories. But I just felt that the Corellian culture with the internal politics, that takes up a really big chunk of the book. And I found that difficult. I basically wanted to know what was happening with the painted man. I kept there was a chapter or two, maybe 3 chapters right at the beginning, and I kept wanting to go back to that. And I don't know if it's me, but maybe some people have a preference of which culture they prefer or not, but I liked that culture. I like the Western culture. Maybe it's because I'm Western and, and that's in my head already. But I wanted to know more about that side of things rather than the Corellian culture side of things. But saying that, you plough through that, and then it for me it widens out again, and then we see the other culture and the internal politics that happen there, and there is crossover between those two cultures, so it's not distinct parts within the book. But I just really wanted to know about Arlen because he, for me, was the main character. He's the warded man. He's the painted man. So he's not really in this one. And it's almost like I remember watching an episode of Doctor Who where Doctor Who's not there, he's kind of running about in the background, but it's not about the Doctor. And you kind of think, well, that's all very good. In fact, we reviewed Doctor Who and the fairy tale. I can't remember what it was called, but it was kind of Doctor Who fairy tales. And again, it was to do with that. The Doctor was missing a lot, and I thought that's all very good, but I want more of that. So that would be my only criticism. Other than that, this is a beautifully written book. It's fantastic. I absolutely loved it. And it does what you need to do. It's the 4th book in a series, and I think that's probably trickier than writing the 2nd book. Because the 4th book is, right, how can I really push this and make, everything start to tie up? But at the same time, you've got the 5th book. So he now needs to gear everything up for that. So it was a very tricky, fine balance that he had to do. Starting to tie things up and merging things, but also then laying down the foundations for the next book. I would recommend this, so if you have read books 1 to 3 and you haven't yet read this, carry on reading the series, and we're going to definitely be looking forward to the next book, which is The Core. There we are, The Skull Throne, book 4 in the Demon Cycle. Thank you so much for watching our review of The Skull Throne by Peter V. Brett. The Core is out on the 10th of August in the UK this year, so I'm looking forward to that. We obviously will be reviewing that. I am looking forward to it because the UK cover has a picture of a coreling on it, the big demon prince. He's looking really evil. So I'm very excited about that. It's going to be a big battle. If you want to see that cover, I do believe that Peter V. Brett has put it up on his website, so go check that out. And obviously check out our previous review of books 1 to 3. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and remember to keep it unreal, especially if you're a coreling.